We're coming out of 10 years of a military government where most people just were employed because the government had to employ people just to give people an earning. Education was free and healthcare was free, so I think people sort of took things a little bit for granted and were used to going to work and there was no work for them to do, so they just sat and did nothing. How do you then, convert generations of that into, being a part of an economy? Getting people to recognize that they are the economy. It isn't a magic wand that the government is waving. It's now that government is being forced to not subsidize everything. So we're increasingly having to pay for healthcare. We're increasingly having to pay for education. We're increasingly having to pay realistic fuel prices. But the economy is not providing enough jobs that are stable. So everyone in Ghana is an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is quite ripe in Ghana, but it's just the environment, just the day-to-day grind and challenges and the day-to-day empty pockets makes it very difficult for people to be creative and to think out of the box.
It has been a period in which Africa has been driven more politically than economically. We've just gone through a military regime, different social networks had been established, a very hierarchical structure of respect for older people, not much human capital to support you, and a social paradigm which responded much more to age than ideas. You do feel like an endangered species when you come first as an entrepreneur, and there can be a lot of phobia against technology. So Busy for us was a necessary intervention to demystify this whole concept of, internet, etc., etc.
There was a moment that I remember, sitting on this bus in Rio, with this issue in the back of my head. How could we germinate innovation in a place like Ghana in the same way that I had witnessed innovation in a place like New York and Los Angeles? And it just struck me that really all you need to do is to put the raw materials together. You need really to provide people with access to the services, the hardware, and the social environment, the ability to listen to what other people are saying and to have a debate about the role of technology. And that was the genesis of BusyInternet.
With the internet, the world is at your fingertips. It opens you to 1,001 clients. Like recently, I got a client in Nigeria. She sent me an email. And I even did an associate degree course on the net here in Busy. And I got my certificate, also by email. I mean, you come to BusyInternet and it's like you walked into your own office. Everything in one place. So when you finish and you're going, you've done a full day's work. I use Busy to get manufacturers. I have manufacturers in Pakistan, manufacturers in Thailand, and then one in India. I make labels. Labels may be expensive, but it's the labels that will give them the edge over others.
I wanted to discuss about the new label that I wanted to do. This time, I want to do a label called Racks. That is it. I'll show you the usual logo that I want. Then the R comes here.
How many each?
Let's look at 5,010. I know when we do that now, it will be more reasonable.
Of course, it's always reasonable when you do a lot. I mean, sometimes I sit down and I say, what if BusyInternet had not started? How would we have been doing our business?
That, to me, is a success story. When you see them able to develop a local industry, innovating and offering new services like that, they simply need the ability to have a decent office space and have dependable electricity, to have a desirable address where they can invite customers and potential partners, and that they can look the role, they can play the role of being a modern business.
This is not just one business, but thousands of little businesses and ideas going on at the same time. We have 90,000 accounts downstairs in our cafe. We have between 1,000 and 1,500 people that walk through the center every day. All that is sort of our informal incubation, which is what makes Busy busy.
We've really developed two forms of incubation. Broad, shallow incubation, the social environment and the hardware and the facilities that we provide. But we've also been curious to explore a more traditional form of incubation, which I would call narrow and deep.
Formally actually being hosted within our incubator over the 5 years, we've had over 25 companies that have been through BusyInternet and stayed here for different lengths of time.
Done this way, and then reach eventually. simple and straightforward to the point. But everything to do with paper I've always loved. The idea of starting a print company about 3 years ago, this is something that I'd always felt I could do, but let me give it a try. Because there are a lot of people who are doing it, but we think that we have a niche.
14.
Prior to BusyInternet, it was very, very difficult. I mean, it's almost impossible to start a business here. Every step of the way, there is a problem. It is hard to find a place to call your office. You'll be asked to pay, they call the advance fee. On the average, it will be 3 years.
We allow them to pay monthly rent. At Busy, we take that headache away.
I went around looking for office space to rent. Morning. And the figures were just beyond my budget. This incubator program was really a lifesaver.
Even if you are secure that a laptop will cost you 10 million cedis, that's over $1,000. And you need to buy it with cash. There's no credit systems here. You don't go to the banks, they won't talk to you.
24 hours I could come and use it. It had internet, I had a computer I could use. So everything was sort of provided, one-stop shop. I'm going to be here for as long as it takes.
And then you have to face the daily challenge of electricity. You cannot be assured of power.
Having a generator, you've got this little island here that's always on, it's always got electricity, it's always got internet access, it's always sort of alive.
But let's say you have all of this. Now you cannot register a business because it's very costly.
We provide business registration to get that done in a week or 2 weeks instead of going through a whole bureaucratic system.
The first type of registration that we have is what we call sole proprietorship. You are supposed to be the sole owner of the business. And this particular type of registration is only reserved for Ghanaians. We actually started operations in January 2005. That was when we came to the incubator program. Registering the company, it's actually a tough process because it involves a lot of legalities. So we take you from the beginning to the end of the process. We have people who got to know of us through browsing at Busy. They saw our name and our company. People trust Busy. It was so good for us that we started here.
So comparing what we've had and faced before, the services you get here, they're up to speed with their own. We feel it's comparable in a way. And even aside the space that we were given here at BusyInternet, we went through some forms of training, some excellent advice coming on.
So we have January here, we set a column here. The incubatees, when they run into a lot of real problems, then they just call me. I'm a consultant to them. We are not training them, but we are rather assisting them to overcome their bottlenecks.
What is the best time to incubate a company? I'm very much against the idea of incubating just somebody with an idea. I think that the chances of that succeeding are so slim and so difficult under any circumstances that you're setting yourself up to fail. You are disrupting natural market forces by doing that. You know, my feeling is very much that you choose a company that has already established itself.
ChildNet Electronic Publishing Co. Limited.
That has been around for a while, that has been able to create a product, that has been able to create some sales, who are already able to pay for services like rent, like accounting, like business development, and that sustains all of us all the way around, and we're not dependent on public funding, which I think is sometimes difficult to depend on. You don't know where the next round of funding is coming from.
Come in.
In the private market, if you're providing a service and the public is still coming, you know that you can pretty much guarantee sustainability and viability.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Kobina.
I'm Emmanuel. I'm a teacher. Our kids don't like reading, that's the problem. But they like computers, of course. That is what Ghanaian kids now like. They like computers.
Scroll Computer. It's interactive educational software for kids. What it does, it teaches the kids basic concept of what a computer is about. What is a software? What is a hardware? That sounds like a good idea.
So that the kid can understand the Ghanaian accent.
The development of software was done with the seed money we won from the World Bank, organized by the Ministry of Private Sector. From then, we signed on to BusyInternet collaboration with infoDev World Bank through the incubator program. What we benefit from, especially people in the West at times find it uncomfortable dealing with companies in Africa. So through the incubator program, We did initial introduction with our bankers, and our bankers gave them the guarantee that yes, we'll be banking with them. This has been our cash flow. And from there, business started.
Dial-up is old-fashioned technology. Africa has an image problem in the West. Technology is also an interesting opportunity for people to produce high-value work that proves to the rest of the world that, you know, we're not just talking about AIDS, we're not just talking about war, we're not just talking about famine here, we're talking about sophisticated software development, we're talking about data processing, we're talking about the kinds of things that anybody does anywhere.
We missed in Africa the Industrial Revolution. That is why we are underdeveloped. The ICT is an evolution, you can call it a revolution. If we miss this opportunity, we'll continue to be underdeveloped. So our goal is to identify real projects that we think are feasible. Then we start to nurture them at the universities so that at the time of graduation, when we bring them to the BusyInternet, offload most of this to them to do packaging and commercialization, and then support them financially to come in and assist the private sector to develop this incubator facility. The ICT industry can only grow if we start to groom startup companies.
In this context, at this level of corporate evolution, simply providing an environment for people to get together and to share ideas is the right way to develop the continent.